It's Sunday morning, isn't it? Yeah, well, midday Sunday. So I was just saying that, talking about the fire damage and that, yeah? I can see some, that's water came through there, yeah?
Yeah, well it was boring into some of the ceilings, we had to put new ceilings up. And then everything went wrong, put it that way. If it can go wrong here, it has, you know. And we've had a couple of years of it. That sort of place is in uproar, like, you know, because the office has been shattered and put back together and shattered and redone, and everything's been.
See, my office is a mess. I call it busy.
No, well,
it's a busy-looking office.
Yeah, but you know, we got masses of stuff unpublished. You know, we got into ancient history all around the damn place because there's these leads drag you off. You find yourself wandering off into other zones.
Well, your books are like 3-year degree courses each one. You know, it's a massive amount of information.
We published about.
And you've written. It's hard enough just reading it all.
We published about 50% of what we got. Every time we do something, it seems to open another door. We go into a room and, oh yes, it's terrific. And hang on, there's 2 more doors over there. So we go through one of there, and then, hang on, there's another door. It's like going from one to the other. It's snowballed. It's as if we got onto the right topic or the right track.
Well, all things suddenly make sense, don't they, when you piece it together a bit?
There are no mysteries in history. There's no mysteries. There's no people who are so dopey that they forgot their past and they neglected it. And we're finding that we don't speak. Well, I didn't manage French because I did all level college French, you know. But we found people who could read German and read books to us. We have people who read to us, especially when we were in Cardiff, you see.
Right.
There was a guy around the corner.
Translated for you.
A guy around the corner was a German, so he'd come and translate it for us. In the French, we had a couple of French guys, they'd come in, they enjoyed it, you know.
That's caring for you, yeah.
He'd read to us, well, that's what that says, you know. We did get some good stuff, like, you know. So well,
the Germans were the only ones investigating Welsh at one point, weren't they?
Aye.
They had to go to German books to get bloody details on Britain.
They write British histories, but they're not British. They're mainly English histories with a reluctance about Scotland.
Yes.
And a total blanket over Wales.
Yes.
And I think it goes down to this business of the Prince of Wales is part of the problem. Because the minute you start talking about the Kings of Wales, you're in deep trouble.
I was thinking, is there one thing I saw in an old book, and I can't find it anywhere, if it's not my memory playing tricks, is that the term principality might have a Welsh root in Principe Reginus, whatever, the first king amongst kings.
Principius.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Britain had a number of kings, and then you have the High King, wasn't it?
Yes, the High King.
And he's Principia in Latin, and that's been mutated or whatever into principality. Any strength in that, do you think?
There's this nonsense about a little village in North Wales. They make a prince up there, and all the people live in South Wales.
Yes.
The King of England doesn't live up in Cumberland, or he doesn't live down in Cornwall either, you know. He lives in where it's all at.
Where the people are,
They wouldn't be able to control the country otherwise. I mean, they have to be where the central government is where the people are, you know. And
sorry.
People of South Wales, if you read the Roman records, were some of the toughest people they ever encountered. They had a hell of a job with them. And then they suddenly realised that they were common stock, you see. Same people. The Brits are emigrants from Troy, and the Romans are from Troy. Aren't they?
Yes, yes.
You know, they fled, you know, they were driven out of Troy and set up Rome. And then others came here, set up in Britain. And that's what the histories say. And that's why when they got hold of King Caractacus and took him to Rome with his family, there were huge celebrations, apparently, according to the records. And the whole of Rome turned out to greet him. Well, if they captured another king in another country took him to Rome and cut his head off.
Like Vercingetorix or something like that.
Yeah,
Strangled him, wasn't it?
Caractacus, he was there for 7 years with his family, and they all intermarried with the top Romans, you know.
Up on the Palatine Hill seemed to have a lovely place as well, didn't they? Some sort of, almost a palace really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So, you know, the story is never enthusiastically told in Britain because it ain't English, you see. It's about Welsh, and then they're not enthusiastic. And I think it has to do something with promoting this royal family. I believe so. No, we're not against them or for them, it's nothing to do with me.
Just recording events, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's one thing we talked about as well, wasn't it? Trying to keep this as and whatever the word is, non-political as possible.
Yeah.
And concentrate on the record and say what the record says, and rather than a political tool.
Well, you know, I can tell you during the war, the first one was a sailor knocked the door, and he was a distant cousin of my father from up here. My father had been taken down to Wales when he's 4 years old.
All right, he's just turned up.
And yet they still had family links, and they still wrote, you know, and he found us in Cardiff, and then others came, you know, airmen and all sorts, you know, who were from the family up here. So these links were there, you know, there's no doubt about it. I never considered myself 100% Welsh, because I can't, in a way. My dad's born up here and he went down to Wales. You know?
Yeah.
But it's better to have a ambivalent view, in my
Yes,
opinion.
try and be objective, isn't it?
Yeah, it's better to see it as it was, you know. The fact that I'm doing Welsh history, and I've been accused of being a Welsh nationalist, I don't think so. You know, and he certainly isn't, you know.
No.
I can't imagine him as a Welsh nationalist.
He's every country but Welsh, actually, isn't he? It's but the only one he hasn't got blood from, looking at his DNA thing.
Yeah. Oh, he's a lad. But he said, well, we can find this art thing. You could do it. Oh, we can do it. You know? And he was doing the work in early stages. He said, you know, there's got to be 2 of them. I said, yeah, there's got to be 2 of them. He can't be 200 years old. There's got to be 2 of them.
Yeah.
And once you realise there's 2 of them,
It's just common sense, isn't it?
Oh, you're home and dry, you know. It sort of bursts upon you and think, oh, I've got this sorted now. There's 2 of them, and that's the secret. There's 2 of them. And then Curnew is the old name for the Cardiff area. Curnew, is it?
Yeah, not to be
It's not
confused
Cornwall.
with Curnow, which is Cornwall,
It's
is it?
not Cornwall. Can you imagine a king sitting in Cornwall running Britain? I mean, no.
You just can't do it for now, can you?
It's just crackers, isn't it? Yeah? Crackers.
I suppose the other side, the Severn, has got more credibility. There's a lot of activity in Somerset and places like that, aren't there? Is that doesn't tell you?
Not really, no.
No?
They tried to expand the Cornish idea a little bit, but the evidence isn't there. I mean, the famous Battle of Baden, right? Well, where are you going to look for it? Well, money, Baden
Somewhere called Baden, isn't it? Yeah.
Baden Mountain? No, you can't be there, can it? And then you go up there and there's Maes Cadlower, is the big area of the slope. Field of battle area. That's what it says in Welsh.
Yes.
And then there's huge grave mounds, because after a battle they had to get the dead buried quick to stop contagion and disease and that, you know, coming from
all
the
those
dead bodies.
yeah.
And it didn't matter, they shoved all the dead soldiers into one grave, and then you get smaller graves where the big guy, some big general, had been buried. And it's very easy to see, honestly. And once you find that, you think, well, Mynydd Camlan. They can't find Camlan Mountain. There's Mynydd Camlan. Big grave bones again. And I remember I'm going back 20, 30 years now, because we've been at this, and talking to old people, like, you know, because they didn't get many people in some of these areas, you know, they get more now.
Off the beaten track a bit, don't they?
More motor cars, but they're off the beaten track, you see.
Yeah.
And they'll chat to you, you know, come up to you. Oh, big battle up there, man. Years ago, big battle. Oh, yeah. And they knew.
Yeah.
They knew, you know. Daddy tells his son, and he tells his son, and it goes down the family.
Yeah.
And they could tell you, they won not. One fellow says, no, the enemy come on that way, and our boys were. He's describing the battle. He's describing the bloody battle to us.
Detailed accounts, yes.
Because he'd been told it and told it and told it, see?
Yeah.
Detailed account.
So do you have any thoughts on Tim Tadgell then? Because that always gets roped into this, doesn't it? And I know one of your books in Walking is mentioned as a church more than as a...
Well, the Tin Tadgell is a corruption of Dindagol, I think.
Okay.
And it's a Welsh word that's been corrupted, but I don't think it's got anything to do with anything, to be honest. Nothing in the Arthurian sense.
Right.
But there would have been...
There was a building there, wasn't there?
They would have sent their cousins and their sons to different group areas to try and dominate, if they could, they were up to that. But the key to it all is really the reception of King Caractacus and his family in Rome. They were normally killed, but the whole of Rome turned out to welcome him and fete him, and married the top Romans.
Because I see the Roman history, why isn't it in the British history, isn't it?
It's in British.
Well, sorry, our official history.
It's not in the English history.
Yes.
English version.
The other thing you mentioned before as well is about the martyrs as well, with the first Christian martyrs were probably related to Caradoc.
Yeah. Well,
is there two princesses?
The principal historians of the Catholic Church, Cardinal Baronius, around 1500 or 1500, Cardinal Alfred and others, and they say the Holy Family was taken into Britain in the last year of Tiberius, 36-37 AD. Now, JC gets crucified about 35-36 AD, doesn't he? Now, if he's still alive, wandering about, where would you look for him?
Where the family went to, where they said it's gone,
Where their family went to. Why did the family go to Britain? Because the ancestral roots were the same. That's why the Brits always said we're the 10 tribes. Of course, you don't read that in London and Oxford, Cambridge.
It's always been a legend, wasn't it? Even when I was a child, we talked about the lost tribes being the Welsh.
But
no one knew anything about it.
the Welsh. And we've researched it as thoroughly as we can.
Yes.
And there's very little doubt.
There's written evidence and all
Well, that's
sorts
why
of
there was 12 counties in Wales, you see. 12 zones, you became counties. Now there's 13. Because they took Morgannwg,
down to 8 now, aren't we?
They took Morgannwg, where the kings lived, cut it in half and said Glamorgan and went. Thank you, London. Just obscured a few things. But that's where the big king lived, you see. And
well, it's obscured even more now. I live in RCT officially, whatever that's supposed to be. Rhondda and Taff,
Oh, yeah. Well,
I still put Glamorgan on my letters and addresses, but whatever difference that makes.
yeah. So, really and truly, we then started looking at these idiotic Welsh histories, and not idiotic at all, and they're not trivial at all. When you start reading them and placing them in the historical era and context, the right context, then they become very different. And the one hard that the Romans had was the Welsh, who couldn't deal with them. Because they were organised and they were military. And they weren't sort of all coal miners, that sort of thing,
Well, I guess it's just easier to deal with them as well, I would have thought.
Well,
there's no real incentive to smash them, was there?
Well, the whole of Rome turned out to greet the British king when he was taken to Rome. The whole of Rome turned out to cheering kinsmen, you see. And old people knew this when I was young. They were getting, I was young in the 1930s, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm in the 40s. So I'm talking to people who were born in 1870 and 80, some of them. And they'd been taught all this in school, but they didn't teach it anymore.
Yes, what's amazing to me as well is you can't even find, they got rid of the textbooks in 1924, I think, when they changed the syllabus. You can't even get those books,
no, Cardiff at the time, for some reason or other, Hay-on-Wye became the place of second-hand bookshops, but Cardiff had 5 very good second-hand bookshops. And before the TV era, people read books. People used to read books.
And learn something.
And the Cardiff libraries were well stocked, and you go in, there were people in and out, and there were a lot of sub-libraries around the area. And if they didn't have a book, they'd try and find.
One of the working men clubs used to have libraries.
Yes, they did.
Proper libraries with.
That's right. That's right. That's perfectly correct. But people don't read anymore.
Not serious books.
Lots of bloody books, that sort of thing. And I think it's a damn shame because
Autobiographies are the big sellers now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or biographies.
You educate yourself. You learn it in school, but what you're taught in school is how to educate yourself. That's what they're really telling you, if you think about it.
What they should tell you anyway.
Well, they should. But that was that attitude, certainly in the school I went to. You know, getting equipped to get out there and keep learning. You know.
So that's a great philosophy, that is.
Well, one of the old teachers used to tell us that, two of them. So the older guys, they were in their sort of 60s. You see what, in the war years, they had to fetch people who'd retired back into schools.
Right.
Because the younger guys were all in the army.
Yeah.
And they were waiting for them to come back. And it took some time, 3 or 4 years after the war, to get all of them back, you know. Because they didn't all just come out of the army when the war finished.
Just go home, yeah.
It didn't happen. They had to demobilise them gradually and set up all sorts of safeguards all across Europe and Germany and one thing and the other, and the Far East. And so...
you don't want 500,000 unemployed men in it.
So we were being taught by men in their 70s, in the 1940s and 1970s. They're born in 1870. So their ideas were very different. And they were interesting people. And most of them had retired from being teachers, and they'd mellowed a bit, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It was... and we all knew they were old. And
they weren't under exam pressures like they are now, with results published and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They could teach you to learn, not just pass an exam.
Yeah, well, they taught you to pass exams, but they did teach you to learn more, yes. And they were more amenable. So it wasn't a bad idea in some ways. There were 1 or 2 young men who were teaching because they were just unfit for the army. That was it. Well, I think they were embarrassed about it, but, you know. But, in other words, I had contact with people in my own family who were into history, if you want to know, and also with these older people who had a different slant on history, and not the modern slant at all.
Yes.
A totally different way of looking at things.
Well, you're passing on now 70 years later, something they were passing on, say, 50 years later.
Yeah.
You said he spanned 120 years, haven't you?
Yeah, well, they'd been brought up in an era of very few newspapers. Hardly anybody went in there. Books were very expensive in their time. This modern era, we've got books for cheap and mass production.
Yeah, internet and things.
And so, you know, books were treasured and valued. You didn't throw them around. And the one book they all had was the Bible. So it was a different era, you see. And no books were being published during the war. They couldn't afford to publish
the paper
books.
and stuff, yeah.
And everything was wanted for military, you see. So they were relying on older books.
Yes.
In that sense.
Yes, if you've got an old book, I see your point. If you've got an old book in the family, get it out and we'll look at it.
People got it out, and they got them out in the schools too.
Get some 60-year-old book out, why not? And have a read of it,
Yeah.
Yes, that's a key point there, that you're looking at not necessarily the most fashionable, up-to-date version of things.
Yeah,
You've got, a source book, if you like.
And I had enough bloody brains to realise it, you know. So I was always into this history. And I met my colleague, because I went into the library and I could never get this bloody book. And then he was going to the library and he could never get that book. So we met. And he taught
Match made in heaven, yes.
And I taught him about King Arthur and that. And he said, real? I said, yeah. Let's go and find him. That's literally, I don't know if that's the right word, so let's go and find him.
Yeah, that's the spirit, isn't it?
And I thought, hey, that's not a bad idea. And once you know who he is, precisely who he is, and where he was, then you've got a damn good chance, haven't you?
Yeah.